All right, hi there. So I wanted to make a video here kind of walking through the M421 activity that we did today regarding empirical formulas. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger there. So let me kind of walk through this process here to kind of show you a little bit of how we're doing some of these calculations. Now, the whole idea of an empirical formula is something that's found in the lab. And in terms of the formula, we're trying to find the lowest whole number ratio that elements combine together to make compounds. So let's just say, for example, in the lab, that we have a beaker that weighs 107 grams. And into that beaker, we're going to react 29.4 grams of sodium, and that sodium is then going to combine with nitrogen to make a compound. Now, at the end of the reaction, the entire beaker and compound then weighs 190.15 grams. That's all the data we're given. Now, from that, we can then go through and find the empirical formula. So let me kind of walk you through that process. First of all, the mass of the sodium is given to us up here. 29.4 grams of sodium. The mass of the compound, then we want to find, well, let's see, we know that the beaker itself is 107. The beaker and compound is 190. So let's take 190.15 minus 107, and that is going to be the mass of our compound. And it works out to 83.15 grams. So that's the entire compound. Now, the entire compound is made up of both sodium and nitrogen together. So, how much is just the nitrogen? Well, we take 83.15 minus our sodium, which we have at 29.4, and that's going to go up here, 53.75 grams of nitrogen. Now, we have the mass of our nitrogen and we have the mass of our sodium. What we need to do now is determine the number of moles of each of those. So our sodium, we have 29.4 grams of sodium. From the periodic table, we go through and we see that the molar mass of sodium is 22.99 grams per mole. So that's going to be 1.2788 moles of sodium. Again, we find that from the periodic table. Next, we do the same thing for nitrogen. 53.75 grams of nitrogen. On the periodic table, we see the molar mass is 14.01 grams per mole. So that gives us 3.8365 moles of nitrogen. Now, the next thing we want to do is compare how these two values relate to each other, their molar mass ratio. So the molar mass of nitrogen is 3.8365. The molar mass of sodium is 1.2788. When we divide those, you see it ends up being exactly 3.0. So what does that mean? Well, that means that it would take 3 atoms of nitrogen to combine with 1 atom of sodium. So if we were to put those together in a formula for the compound, our formula would be sodium NaN3. Now, a couple of things about this we want to keep in mind. First of all, for the Na, a subscript of 1 is always simply assumed. In other words, we don't actually write in a 1. Notice we do have a 3 after our nitrogen, but we don't have a 1 after the sodium. And secondly, if we have a metal, it needs to come first, and a non-metal will come second. Now, use this same strategy, use this same process to go ahead and answer the next few questions on this assignment, this activity. If you have any questions, please let me know.